everyone, I'm Trish Connor-Cato. Welcome to the Access 2021 video course. This video course is for beginners in Microsoft Access, all the way through experienced everyday users looking to sharpen their skills and increase efficiency in Access. Access is Microsoft's relational database application used to organize and store data. Access also has reporting capabilities. So what's covered in this course? We'll create database queries, forms, and reports. We'll spend time on learning how table relationships affect queries and how to automate queries and how to create what are known as action queries. And along the way, I will point out features that are new to this version of Access. If you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions you want answered by one of our instructors, please join our off-site community. The link is in the description as well. As always, if this course has exercise files, you'll find them in the video description below. So welcome to Module 2, Queries, Forms, and Reports. We have different lessons in this module as we did in the previous one. So we're going to get started by creating commonly used queries in a couple of different ways. You're going to be introduced to the query wizard and also how to create a query in Design View. After that, we're going to move on to customizing queries with criteria. So you'll learn how to add criteria to queries to limit the results, and also how to use wildcards in criteria. We'll then move on to using forms for data entry. You're going to explore the form wizard, form design view, exploring all of the form layouts, and actually using a form to perform data entry. Our last section in this module is creating reports for data output. So you'll learn how to base reports on queries, how to preview and print them, understanding report design view, and also how to format reports. We're going to use one .png file during this. It's in the video description. It's called the Learnit logo, if you want to go ahead and grab that. So it was useful to have overlapping windows when we were cleaning up stuff so that our relationships would work. But now we want to change it back to tab documents. So before we get into our queries, we're going to go to File tab and then Options. And it's on the current database. And we're going to just do the Option button for tabbed documents and OK. And we're going to click OK again. So we have to close our database and then reopen it for that change to take effect. So I'm just going File, Close, and then File, and there's my database sitting right there. So the next thing we're going to do is let's open the customers table by double-clicking it in the navigation pane. So when we created this table, we made the employee field a number field, because the employee ID field in the employees table is an auto number field. So we have to just fill in the employee ID numbers here and then make it a lookup field, which will show the employee's last name. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in, and then you'll be able to pause the video and copy it from my screen. So feel free to pause and fill in the employee column with those employee ID numbers, and the blanks are intentional. When you're done, you can resume the video. Now we're going to take it to Design View, and we're going to do the drop down next to the number data type for the employee field and choose Lookup Wizard. So this time we get a message saying you can't change the data type or field size of this field because it's part of one or more relationships. So you would have to delete the relationship first. We're going to click OK on that message. And if you right-click the Customer Table tab, you're going to go ahead and close it. You have to make sure the table is closed in order for you to impact the relationship that that table is in. So we're going to say yes if it prompts you to save your changes. We're going to go to our database tools, relationships. And the relationship we have to delete is between the customers and the employees table. So I'm going to just select that join line, and I can press delete on my keyboard and then enter to confirm the deletion. I'm going to close my relationships window and reopen the customers table in design view. And now I'm going to do the drop down, select lookup wizard. I'm going to choose next. We want to bring in information from the employees table. Next. We want to bring in the last name, and we're going to do next again. We're not going to do a sort order. We have the list of last names showing there. We're going to next again and finish. So again, because you're making it a lookup field, it's going to create a relationship. What it's not going to do is enforce referential integrity. So we're going to save the table. We're going to close the table, go back to our relationships window, and notice you have your join line, but you don't have the 1 or the infinity symbol on it. So we're going to select the join line, right-click on it, edit relationship, enforce referential integrity, and cascade update related fields, and click OK. And then we can close our relationships window again. If we double click the customers table, we'll see that the last name based on the employee ID numbers is now populating that column. And we can close the customers table. Now we're ready to create the first of 2 queries using the simple query wizard. So we're going to use the create tab of the ribbon. And in the queries group, we're going to select query wizard. So you'll notice there are a few different kinds of wizards. We're going to use the simple query wizard. You have a Crosstab query wizard, a find duplicates query wizard, and a find unmatched query wizard. We're going to click OK because simple query is already selected. And it wants to know what fields do you want in your query. So we're going to select our table or query. You can query a table or a query. So we want to select, for our first one, we're going to select the products table. And we're going to want to see the product ID field, product name, and I'm just double clicking them. Let's see, the next one is going to be price, and then we want the category ID. Those are the fields we want in our query. Once we have our field selected, we're going to choose next. And so do you want a detail or a summary query? For this one, we'll do a detail query. So we'll do next. And what title do you want for your query? So the title is going to be what the name of the query is, and it's also going to show on the query itself. So we want to change the TBL because it's not a table now, it's a query. So we want to stick with our correct prefix. So we're going to do QRY for query. And then I'm going to get rid of the space. And actually, we're going to just get rid of the word query at the end. So QRY products, plural. And then we're going to click on finish. So this is what your query looks like, right? It shows QRY products on the tab and also over here in your navigation bar. And also in your navigation pane, you now have the queries object group. So simple query using the wizard. And we're going to close that query. And we're going to do another. So we're going to go back to query wizard. And we're going to use the simple query wizard again. So, okay. This time we want to use the customers table. And the fields that we want are company name, and we're going to put the phone field next. Then we want address 1, city, state, and zip. Oh, and then we want employee. So that's the fields we want on this particular query. We're going to do next. And what title do we want for it? We're going to just change it from TBL to QRY again and get rid of the word query. So QRY customers. And because of that option button, it's going to open the query as soon as you click, as soon as you click on finish. So there's the results. And of course, here you can do your column widths and seeing the data presented in the order that you want to see it. And because the employee ID is a lookup field to the employee last name, that shows in the query as well. And we can close that query and say yes. A layout change includes column width. So go ahead and say yes to that. Now we're ready to create a query from scratch from Query Design View. So let's do this first. Let's right-click on your products query in the navigation pane, and let's go to Design View. So if we had created this from Design View, this is the view that we would have been working in. Let's go ahead and close that query. And in your navigation pane, you're going to right-click on the products query, and you're going to delete it. And we're going to say yes to the message to confirm the deletion. And we're going to recreate that query from scratch without using the wizard. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Create tab of the ribbon. And this time in the Queries group, we're going to go directly to Query Design. And it brings us a Query 1 tab, right? It has a blank space and then a grid at the bottom that you can resize the height of the grid. And on the right, you have that Add Tables pane, so we can figure out which tables we want. So in the Add Tables pane, I'd like you to go to the Tables tab up top because it was on the Queries tab when we came in here. And we're basing this on the products table. So I'm going to click on the products table and at the bottom, add selected tables. And I'm going to expand the products table tile just so I can see all of the fields. And the fields that we included in the query were product ID, product name, price, and category ID. So in the table products tile, I'm going to double click product ID and notice that it fills the first column, giving it the field name and the table that field is coming from. The next field that we want is product name, so I can just double click that. Next is price, and then category ID is last. So we just recreated this query from scratch in Query Design View. Now we're going to save the query. So I'm going to right click on the Query tab and choose Save. And we're going to call it QRY Products and click OK. So there's a couple of ways I can see the results of this query. On the Query Design ribbon, the first button is View, and I could go to Datasheet View if I wanted to, or I can run the query. So I'm going to run it, and it takes it to Datasheet View. So we got the same information again. We just built it from scratch. And we can close the products query. Now we're going to customize our customers query with criteria. So we're going to open the customer's query in Design View. And even though we created it in the wizard, it's created in every view, including sequel view. So in design view is where we're going to add the criteria. So the first criteria is we want to see customers that live in a specific zip code, right? So if we look down at the grid portion, we have our zip column. And in that column, underneath the check mark, the next cell down is the criteria cell. And this is where we're going to put our criteria. So we're going to type an equal sign in there, and then we're going to put in the zip code 97045. And we're going to tab out of that field. And the reason why we want to tab out of that field is because notice it put quotes around the zip code. So if we forget that it has to be enclosed in quotes, it will do it for us when we exit the field. So we're telling it now that this query is only going to show customers in that particular zip code. Let's run it and see what happens. And it worked. Ta-da! So we have our 2 customers from Oregon City, Oregon, showing in this query. Let's go back to design view, and we're going to delete that criteria that we put in for the zip. So just select it, including the equal sign, and delete it. And now we want to see customers who are in any state that begins with the letter I. So for the state criteria cell underneath the check mark, we're going to use a wildcard in this one. So this is kind of like an introduction to wildcards. So we're going to do an I, an asterisk, and tab out of that criteria cell. So we typed an I and an asterisk. The asterisk means any number of characters. And when we tabbed out of the cell, it put the I and asterisk in double quotes, and it preceded it with the keyword like. So Access will give you some help when you're doing these things, kind of like typing shortcuts. You just have to remember to exit the cell. And so now we're going to run this and see what our results look like. And so we have 6 customers that live in a state that begins with the letter I. We can go back into our query design. So typically, and we can go ahead and delete that criteria from the state field. So typically what I would do is I would do these in multiple queries. So I have my customers query. I have customers from states beginning with the letter I. I have customers in specific zip codes. I would do those as all independent queries if I needed to retain all of them. We're going to close the customers query. And yes, we do want to save the changes. So one way I would do that is I could always copy the customer query and then just right-click anywhere. And I did that by right-clicking on it. Right-click anywhere and choose paste. So I can take the copy of it and do as many, do criteria on the copy, make another copy, do different criteria, and name them accordingly if I have to keep them. We're going to just cancel. You'll be learning more advanced querying techniques in modules 3 and 4 of this course. For right now, we're getting ready to start using forms for data entry. And before we start creating forms, I want to point out something that happens automatically in your tables once you create table relationships. So let's open the customers table. I'm going to just double click it. And you'll notice right after each row heading, there's a plus sign. That happens automatically when you create a table relationship. So this is the customers table. right? One customer can have many orders. So the plus sign shows up in the one side of the relationship. And when you click on the first plus sign, you'll see every order for that customer. So this is another efficiency tool. Instead of having to open up the orders table, you can use the plus sign. Happens automatically. And then in the order table, you can see a plus sign in front of order ID, and it gives you the order details. So the orders table, each order can have many order details. So that's the one side of that particular relationship. So that can play into your form designs. Again, you're typically not going to want to be doing data entry directly in your tables. You would want to be doing them via forms. And we're going to go ahead and close the customers table. Now we're going to start creating forms that we're going to be able to use for data entry. So we're going to create 2 forms using the form wizard, and then we're going to create a form from scratch using form design view. Again, we're going to be working on the create tab of the ribbon, and you have a forms group here on the create tab. And in that group, you have several choices. We're going to select form wizard. That's the first one that we're going to use. So in the form wizard, it's asking which fields do you want on your form. You can base a form off of a table or a query. We're going to do the drop down. And for our first form, we're going to use the customers table. And we want all fields except the customer ID field. So the most efficient way to do that is to do the double arrow in the middle between available and selected fields, and then scroll to the top of selected fields, click on customer ID, and do the single back arrow. And now we're going to do next. So remember, customer ID is auto number. We don't need it to be on the form because it's not going to let a user input that number. So the next question is, what layout would you like for your form? You have a little bit of a preview window here. We're going to end up leaving it on columnar, but you can do the option button for tabular, data sheet, and justified to see how that data looks. And again, we're going to leave it on columnar and do next. What title do you want for your form? So this will actually show on the form itself, as well as in the navigation pane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the TBL. For forms, the prefix is FRM, and we'll just leave it at customers and choose finish. So there is our form. Now, we can change things on this form, like the form itself. I don't want it to say FRM customers, and I actually have a typo there. So I'm going to fix it on the form, and then I'm going to actually fix it in the navigation pane. So in order to fix it, I'm going to right click on the form tab, and I'm going to go to layout view. So if you remember, layout view is a view that you can modify your form design, and you get to see the underlying data. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to select that box at the top and where it says FRM customers. And I actually am going to get rid of my typo as well. And I'm going to name it customer information form. Then I'm going to click away from it, click back on that box and expand it so the title now fits on one line. And then I can right click on the tab, go back to form view, see what it looks like, and we're good with that form. So I'm going to close it. It's going to prompt me to save my changes to the design. And then I'm going to rename it by right clicking on it in the navigation pane just because I have that typo. And I'm going to get rid of that extra letter and click away from it. So we created a form. We're going to create another form using the wizard. And this time I'm going to give you a challenge. All right, we want to create a form based on the employees table, and we want all fields except employee ID. So create that form from the form wizard. Now that I have my form created, my employees form, I'm going to put it in layout view, and I'm going to change the title of the form, get rid of the FRM, and just call it employees form. And then save it and close it. Our next step is to create a form using form design view. So again, we're using the create tab of the ribbon. In the forms group, we're going to click on forms design. Now, this is different than your query design view. So you get a grid here. And on the right side, you have a field list pane that pops up. If the field list pane is not there, I'll close mine. On the form design tab of the ribbon, to the right in the tools group, you would click on add existing fields to open that pane. So the form that we want to create here is going to be off of the orders table. So in your field list, we're going to click the show all tables link, and we're going to click the plus sign in front of the orders table to expand it so you can see its fields. And we're going to want all fields except the order ID field. So the easiest way, when you put fields on a form this way, it comes with the label, which shows the name of the field, and then the actual field itself. So if you're going to be dragging fields onto your form grid, you don't want to drag them so far to the left that the label is not visible. So an easier way of doing this is I'm going to right click on the customer ID field, and I'm going to choose add field to view. So it will place it on the form so both the label, which is on the left, and the actual field shows up on the form. So since I did that, and I did that from the orders table, it's now showing the customers table and fields available and related tables, so on and so forth. I'm going to expand the orders table again. I'm going to right click on order date, add field to view. Now it's expanded and it's up in this area, fields available for this view. So I'm going to scroll down, right click on ship date, and add that field as well. So a simple form we created in design view. At this point, I'd like to see what it would look like. So I'm going to right click on the form tab, and I'm going to go to form view. So now I can see what the actual form looks like, and that's great, but I kind of want a title on the form. So I'm going to right click on the tab again and go back to design view. Now notice in design view, you're seeing the details section. That's the stuff that actually shows up on the details section of the form. We're going to right click right on that gray bar that says detail, and we're going to select form header footer. So now we have a form header section and at the bottom a form footer section. I'm going to put my mouse between the form header and the details section, click and hold and drag down a little bit so I get more space in the form header section. Now if you look up at your ribbon on the form design tab of the ribbon, you have quite a few different controls that you can use. So we're on the select control. That's why your mouse looks like a mouse pointer. You also have a text box. You have a label. We want to use a label for our form header. So I'm going to select the label control. And now as I move my mouse into that header section, it looks like a plus sign with a letter A. And I'm going to just click and hold and draw a label about that wide. And I'm going to just type customer order date information. And then I'm going to click away from the box, select its edge, and widen it so it's all on one line. And now I'm going to right click on the tab and go back to form view and see how that looks. So now we have a title for our form. At this point, we're ready to save this form. So I'm going to right click the tab and save, and it's going to be FRM customer order dates, and click OK. And now I'm going to close that form. There's another way you can create a form that I'm going to show you now. So let's say we wanted a products form, and on the products form, we want all of the fields from the products table. So what we're going to do is we're going to just open the products table. And once it's opened, and by the way, you can close that field list on the right-hand side. When it's open, we're going to go to the File tab, and we're going to choose Save As. You have two choices: save the database as and give it a different name, or save object as. We're in a table object, and so we're going to choose Save Object As. Then we're going to click on the Save As button. And notice we'll start with underneath As, there's a drop down. So we're in the products table. We can save it as a table. If you do the drop down next to table, we can save it as a query, a form, or a report. We're going to choose form. And then we're going to change the name. Instead of copy of TBL products, it's going to be FRM products. And we're going to click OK. So now you have a form called the products form. And we can, and it opens, when you do it this way, it opens in layout view. So we can change the title right there. We can actually get rid of that little icon that's there in the title. And then we can change the text in the title by getting rid of the FRM. And I'm going to just call it product information form. And so if I look at the products table, I have both the form and the table tabs open. In the products table, this is the one side of the relationship. When I do the plus sign, one product can show on many order details. So it's showing the order details. Therefore, when I create the form based on the table by using the Save Object As, it shows the order details for every record. So down at the bottom, if I use my record navigator, so there's one at the very bottom of your screen at this point, and there's another one in the order details section of the screen. So you have two record navigators, one there, and then you have one here. So on the very bottom record navigator, if you switch to the next product, that will control the product records. So if I go to the next one using the right arrow, it shows me the next product, the second product in there. And notice as I'm scrolling through them, the order details information are changing. Now I'm back on the first product, and in the order detail window, this is kind of like a subform, a form within a form. I'm looking at order detail, the first order detail record. If I use the next record there, it just takes me down that list of order details. So yeah, you can create another database object by doing a save as on an open database object. Go ahead and close both the products table. I'm going to just right click on that and close all. And it will ask me if I want to save the changes to the form, and I'll say yes. So now we're going to add a new record to the customers table, but we're going to do it by using the customers form. So I'm going to go ahead and double click FRM customers in the navigation pane. And so form view is the view that it opens in, and that's the view that you would be using if you want to modify or add new records into your table, modify existing records or add new records into your table. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go down to our navigation bar, and we want to click on the new record button. So that's the right pointing arrow with the asterisk to the right side of it. And I'll kind of point to it. My status bar is kind of overhanging it. So I'm going to try to draw an arrow. Here we go. Pointing to the right button for the new record. So go ahead and click that button, and it gives you a blank form. Now remember, we didn't put the customer ID field on this form because that's an auto number field and it wouldn't let you change it anyway. So we're going to just do a new company name here. We're going to call it Patty's Pretzels. And I'm going to just use my standard make-believe address, 123 Main Street. For the city, I'm going to use Philadelphia. Actually, I better not use that. I'll use Franklin Park. The state is New Jersey. And we'll use 08823 as the zip code. For my phone number, we're going to just type in 555-555-5555. Now, even though we put an input mask on the phone number for the customer's table, it's not showing up here. So what we want to do is, let's see what happens if we don't put the formatting around it. We'll put in patty@pretzels.com, totally bogus email address. We'll check the box for active. And we'll do the employee drop-down list, and we'll say that Brewster is the salesperson, the employee representative that works with this customer. And so at this point, we're in the last field. If we press tab again, it will save that record. We can close this form, open up your customer's table, and you'll see the last entry is there. Now, it did not apply the input mask here, so I'm going to just go into the phone number field and do it manually. And then again, exit that row and close the customers table. So I was curious as to why the input mask didn't carry over. It probably worked for you and you didn't have to modify the phone number. And it's because somehow I dropped my input mask here for the phone field. So I'm going to just go back and do that. And in the meantime, go ahead and enter another customer record into the form. And you could just make up a company name, so on and so forth. So I reinstated my input mask, added a new record using the form. Now I have Rita's Roses. And I'm going to close the table again. We'll get into some advanced form design techniques when we get to Module 5. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and create a report for data output. So we're going to base this report on a query, and one way we can do it is just by going and opening the query. So we're going to base it on our products query. So I'm going to double click QRY products. We're going to go to File, Save As, Save Object As, Save As again. And this time I always do the as part first, so I don't forget to do it. So I want to save it as a report. And then I'm going to change the name to RPT products using that the correct prefix for that table, for that database object of a report. And we're going to go ahead and click OK. So it opens this report. Notice we have our query products is still open, and we can close that. And the report is open now. So if we right click on the report, you notice it's in layout view. Just like with a form, okay, layout view will allow you to reorganize things on your design aspect, and you get to see the underlying data. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to get rid of that little icon next to the report title. And we're going to name it. We're going to get rid of the RPT. And we just want it to be called Product Information Report. We can leave the date and time. It puts that up there in the header section as well. And the only other thing I'll say on my screen, the total at the bottom seems to be a bit cut off. So I'm going to just expand that box. Otherwise, I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to take a look at it in report view. So right clicking the tab and going to report view. And this is a view that would be used if you're viewing it on screen. I'm going to right click on it again, and I'm going to go to print preview. And this is what it would look like if it was printed out. And we can go ahead and close this report. It's going to ask if we want to save the changes, and we're going to say yes. We're going to create another report, this time in design view from scratch. So we're going to go back to create, and in the reports group, we're going to click on report design. So this is very similar to form design view, where when you go into report design, it already has the page header, detail, and page footer section showing on it. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we can see our fields list. So on the report design tab of the ribbon, all the way to the right in the tools group, you're going to click on add existing fields to open that field list. Now we want to base this one off of the customers table. So we're going to expand the customers table, and we're going to want all the fields on the report except for the customer ID and address too. So I'm just going to right click company name, add field to view. Address 1, same thing, city, state, and I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to grab zip, phone, email, active, and employee. So just like in form design, it gives you the label as well as the field. And I'm going to right click where it says page header, and I'm going to click on page header footer, and I'm going to right click on detail, and I'm going to click on report header footer. So the report header and report footer show on the first and last pages of the report respectively. Page header and page footers will show on each page of the report respectively. Let's take a look at where we are with this report, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to just go to print preview. And I notice I have to make the company name field wider. I might also want to make the address 1 field wider. So I'm going to do that by going to layout view, and I'm going to click on the company name field, not its label. Put my mouse on the right edge of it, click and hold, and drag it so it's wider. And as I scroll down, I can make sure that it's wide enough for all of the company names. I think I kind of got it as wide as I need it to be. So an easy one when you're looking at the underlying data, it's easier to get your sizing right when it comes to things like that. And I'm going to just go back into design view for this report now. And I need to make space so I can see the report header section. So I put my mouse between header and detail and drag down. And I want to put an object here. So I'm going to go to the report design tab on the ribbon. I want to put a control there, a label control. I'm going to actually use two different things up there. So I grab the label control. Oops, I grabbed the text box control. I'm going to go up and grab the label control. And I'm going to just draw a box for the label about that wide. And I'm going to just type in it customer information. And then I'm going to click away from it. And it doesn't need to be that wide. So I'm going to decrease the size. I can go to the Format tab on the ribbon here. And if I wanted to increase the font size for that label, I can just do the drop down and I'm going to choose 14. Now, notice I didn't have to select the text inside the box. I'm going to actually make it 16-point font. And then I'm going to resize the label box so it all fits. Click away from it. I'm going to go back to the Report Design tab. And now we want to insert a logo into the report header section. So on the Report Design tab in the header footer section, there's a logo button and we're going to click it. And then we're going to browse to where we saved the Learnit logo from the video description. And when I find it, I'm going to double click it. And then I'm going to move that logo box over to the right side of the report header section. And I'm going to expand its size so I can clearly see the logo, the entire logo. And then I'm going to look at my report in print preview. And if I'm happy with it, that's really cool. So it does look like it's going to be a multi-page report. So that's going to lead me to make a different choice here. Well, actually, no, we're good with this. I'm going to take it back to design view. And I think I'm pretty good. We're pretty good with the changes here. So we're going to go ahead and save the report. And we're going to call it RPT, Customer Information. And click OK. And then we can go ahead and close it. And we'll be covering some advanced report design techniques when we get to Module 4. Before I complete this module, now that we have the 4 main database objects showing in our navigation pane, I just want you to look at the icons in front of each. So you'll get used to the icons. You'll see the icon for tables kind of looks like an Excel spreadsheet. Query looks like kind of 2 spreadsheets. Forms, actually the icon looks like a form, and reports looks like a notebook. So each object has a different icon automatically associated with it via access. To recap Module 2, we started by creating commonly used queries. We created a couple of queries using the Simple Query Wizard, and we created a query in Design View. We moved on to customizing queries with criteria, and you were introduced to using a wildcard in query criteria. After that, we went into creating and using forms for data entry. We created forms using the Form Wizard, and from Design View, we even created a form by using the Save Object As method. We saw the different form layouts, form view, layout view, and design view. And then we performed data entry into our customer's table by using a form. After that, we created a report based off of a query. And we also created a report in design view. We did some minor formatting to the report in terms of the report title, and we ended up adding a logo to a report header. Welcome to Module 3 in this video course for Microsoft Access 2021. The lessons we're going to have in this module are how to control query results with join types, how to create complex queries with multiple criteria, and how to calculate data with queries. To get started with controlling query results with join types, I'm going to take us to this link, which gives you all the information about the join types that are available in Microsoft Access. So it brings us to a support site for Microsoft, and it has an overview, the types of joins. I'm going to go to types of joins first. So there are 4 basic types of joins: inner, outer, cross, and unequal. The most popular would be inner and outer joins. So an inner join is where access will only include data from a table if there is a corresponding data in the related table and vice versa. So an example of that would be if you do a query with the customers table and the orders table, it's only going to return results of customers that have orders. So if we have customers that didn't have orders, they would not show in the query result for an inner join. For an outer join, you get all the related data combined correctly, plus all the remaining records from one of the 2 tables in the join. So an outer join is like an inner join, but it adds the remaining rows from one of the tables. Outer joins are directional. A left outer join includes all the records from the left table, which is the first table in the join, and a right outer join includes all the records from the right table, the second table in the join. So if we have our customers table as the left table and our orders table as the right table, in an outer join, we would see all of the customer records regardless of whether they have orders or not. So there are other join types that are listed on this resource: full outer joins, cross joins, unequal joins. And then it goes on to tell you how to use an inner join, and it gives you the SQL syntax. So this is a good reference site. And again, the PowerPoint presentation is in the video description. Because we've created relationships between the customers, orders, and order details tables, we're going to create a query using all 3 of those tables. So we're going to do it from scratch. So we're going to go to Create tab on the ribbon, and we're going to select Query Design. In the Add Tables box, we're going to double-click Customers, Orders, and Order Details. And you'll see the one-to-many joins between them. Remember, this is really the many-to-many join in a way, using order details as the bridge table. So anyway, we're ready to build our query. And you can size your tiles so you can see all the fields if you like, your table tiles. And from the customers table, we want the company name field. So I'm going to just double click it, and it puts it in the first column in the grid on the lower half of the screen. From the orders table, I want the order date and ship date fields. So I'm going to just double click both of those. And from order details, we're going to double click product ID and quantity. And we just want to see what this looks like. So by default, without you changing anything about the type of join you have, by default, it's an inner join. So that means when we run this query, it's only going to show us customers that have orders. So let's go ahead and click the Run button on the ribbon. And we'll notice that there are no customers listed here who do not have orders. So almost all of the customers have order dates that are listed here. There's 3 at the bottom that don't have ship dates. And since these orders went in 2010, I don't think they're ever going to get their stuff. But anyway, it's only showing customers who do have orders. Let's go back to design view. Now we're going to change the join type. We want to see all customers regardless of whether they have orders. So before we do that, let's go ahead and save this query. So I'm going to just right click the tab and save. And I'm going to name it QRY customer orders. So changing the join type is easy to do in Query Design View. We're going to select the join line between the customers and the orders table, right-click on it, and choose Join Properties. Now, the bottom half of this screen, you have 3 option buttons. The first one only include rows where the joined fields from both tables are equal. That is the default inner join. The second one include all records from customers table and only those records from orders where the joined fields are equal. That is a left outer join. So it's going to show all the records from the customers table, regardless of whether there are any orders for those customers. And the third one would actually be a right outer join, which in this case doesn't make any sense, where it would show all the records from the orders table, regardless of whether they have a matching customer. Well, you can't have an order without having a customer assigned, so that one doesn't make sense. So we want option button 2, which is the left outer join. We want to see all customers regardless whether they have orders. And we're going to click OK. Now run your query. So you're going to get this error message. The SQL statement could not be executed because it contains ambiguous outer joins. So we're going to click OK on that. We have to do both join lines. So this one is now a left outer join between customers and orders, but between orders and order details, it's still an inner join. So you actually have to adjust all of the join lines to the same join type. So we're going to select the join line between orders and order detail, right click on it, join properties, option 2, and OK. Now run your query. So if you scroll down, you'll see there's a few customers that have no order or ship dates. So it's showing all customers regardless of whether they have orders or not. And we're going to go back to design view. And I'll have you do this on your own. I want you to change both of those joins to inner joins again. And when you've done that, go ahead and run your query again. And it should again just be showing customers who have placed orders. And you can go ahead for right now and close that query. If it prompts you to save your change to the design, say yes. Now that we've seen how join types can impact the query results, we're going to move on to creating more complex queries by using multiple criteria. Let's go ahead and open our customers query in design view. And the first one we're going to do is just a simple criteria. We only want to see zip codes that begin with 93. So for the zip field, we're going to go into the criteria cell and we're going to type 93 asterisk. The asterisk represents any number of characters. So beginning with 93 followed by whatever is what we're putting there. And go ahead and run your query. So it's only showing you the 2 zip codes that begin with 93. And you can go back to design view. We're going to delete that criteria. And now we're going to explore and or conditions. We're going to start with an or condition first. And in Access, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. I'll show you both ways. So we're going to do this for the state. We want to have the query just show us customers that are in California and Oregon. So in the criteria cell for the state, I'm going to type CA, and it's not case sensitive. I'm going to type a space. I'm going to type in all caps the keyword or. I usually put the keywords in all caps. And then I'm going to type OR for Oregon. And I'm going to tab out of there. You'll notice it puts the double quotes around both California and Oregon. They're text fields, so they need to be enclosed in double quotes. And we're going to go ahead and run the query, and you should just be seeing the results for California and Oregon. And that is an OR criteria. There is no state that's California and Oregon, so we get an and result by using OR. It's showing both states, California and Oregon. Let's go back to design view, and I'm going to show you another way of doing the same thing. In that criteria cell for state, delete the or Oregon portion of the criteria, just leaving California in there. And then you're going to go down one row to the or row. So notice you have a criteria row and an or row. You can, like we did in the previous example, we could put, using the or keyword, we could put it all in the criteria cell, or in the or cell, we're just going to type OR for Oregon and tab out of there. So we don't have to use the keyword. It understands that it's California or Oregon. Go ahead and run it again. Same results. Back to design view. So 2 ways of doing the same thing. Let's leave the criteria for California in there. And we're going to go to the zip criteria cell. And we're going to type 93 asterisk. So this is an and statement. Anytime it's in the same row, it's automatically an and statement, unless you're in the criteria cell and you use the or keyword. So this is saying, show me the records where the state is California and the zip code begins with 93. Go ahead and run it. And you got just that. And we can go back to design view. And let's get rid of all of the criteria we have in there. And we're going to do another example. This example is going to use a different wildcard. So our goal here is we want the query results to show us companies that begin with the letters A through G. So we're going to go to the company name criteria cell. And you're going to type the keyword like. And what you're going to do next is you're going to type a double quote and an open square bracket. A-G, close your square bracket. Type an asterisk and then type a double quote. So it should say like, open double quote, open square bracket, A-G, closing square bracket, asterisk, closing double quote. And actually I can blow it up on my screen so you can see it a little bit larger. So that's what it should look like in that criteria cell for the company name. So I blew it up. I right-clicked on that criteria cell and I chose zoom. Sometimes those little grids are hard to type in, so you can zoom in if you have to type something to see it better. Okay, so now let's run it. So you'll see the results are just showing company names that begin with the letters A through G. And let's go back to design view and break that down. And I'll zoom in again. So the like keyword is used when there's like not an exact match, right? And then because it's text, we're putting it in double quotes. The brackets say only display things that have these letters, A-G. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then we have the asterisk. So A through G followed by anything. So in other words, show me the company names that begin with the letters A through G. And you can delete that criteria as well. Save your table. And we're going to go ahead and close it. Now we're going to get into creating custom fields with calculations in queries. And actually, I don't know why I had us close the customer's query. Go ahead and reopen your customer's query in design view. The first example we're going to do in this query. And go ahead and run your query. So we have the employee last name showing in that employee ID column. We did a lookup column, so it brought in the last name based on the employee ID. In this query, we would like to see the employee's full name in the order of last comma first. So we're going to create a calculation that's going to make that happen. We'll come and view the results of it, and then I'm going to show you how to hide this employee column because we won't need it at that point. It would be redundant. So I'm going to go back to design view for this. This is like a calculated field. So we're actually creating another field. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to click in the field cell to the right of the employee field. The blank cell to the right of the employee field. And you're going to right click and you're going to choose build. It's easier kind of to do it this way. And so we're going to create a concatenated field, right? A calculated field using concatenation. So we're going to type full space name and a colon and a couple of spaces. So right up in that expression box, full name. And then under expression elements, you're going to expand the customer orders database. You're going to expand tables. And you're going to choose the employees table. And under expression categories, you're going to double click last name. So now up in the expression builder box, it says full name colon. It gives you this expression, which we can click on and delete. We don't need that. And then it has the name of the table in square brackets, and then an exclamation point and the name of the field from that table in square brackets. The exclamation point separates the table name from the field name. Click after last name, and you're going to type an ampersand. That is the concatenation character in Access. So it's going to combine the last name, comma, space, and then the first name. We're going to type a open double quote, comma, space, close your double quote, a space, another ampersand, and then in expression categories, double click first name. Now, if you wanted to type it in, you could have zoomed in and typed it in. But for me, the less typing I can do, the better it is. So I'm going to click OK on that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom on it so you can see what it should look like so you can compare it to what you have. And now we're going to test it. So go ahead and run your query. So this is not what we expect, but I did it this way for a reason. We're going to get to parameters later. We're going to cancel that box. So this query is built on the customer's table, but it has a relationship with the employees table, but we haven't added the employees table here. So in your add tables box on the right, you're going to double click TBL employees. And even though we're not pulling any fields from that table, we're using two of its fields in our concatenated calculation. So you have to have the table instance there. And now you can go ahead and run your query. So now we have the employee last name as well as the full name in the format of last name, comma, space, first name. Let's go back to design view. And we're going to hide this employee column. So the check mark is in the show row. And when you uncheck something, you're hiding it. So maybe at some point you'll want to run it and just see the employee last name. So you don't want to delete the field. You just don't want to see it in the query results right now. And go ahead and run it again. And now you're just seeing full name. And you can go back to design view, save your query. We're going to modify the query we created earlier where we tested out our join types. We're going to add more fields to the query, and then we're going to end up creating 2 calculated fields in the query. So we can go ahead and close this customers query and open your customer orders query in design view. And the first thing we want to do is we want to add some fields to the query from the products table. So if your add tables pane is not open on the right, you can get to it from the query design tab of the ribbon. And we're going to just double click the products table. And I'm going to expand it so I can see its fields. So from the products table, we want the product name field. I'm going to just double click it. And we want the price field. But we don't want them in the order they're in. We want the product name field to be right after ship date. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select product name. And when I put my mouse over the top of it, it looks like a downward pointing arrow, and I click once to select it. And then I'm actually clicking and holding the black band at the top, and I'm going to drag it over. You'll see the guideline, and when it's after ship date, I'm going to let it go. And then I'm going to have you move the price column over so it's after product name. So you should have company name, order date, ship date, product name, price, product ID, and quantity. And you can go ahead and run your query to see that you have your product name and price in that particular order. And go back to design view. So we're going to create our first calculated field, and we're not going to use the build for this one. We're going to use the zoom. So I'm going to right click on the first blank field cell to the right of quantity, and I'm going to choose zoom. And we'll just type this one in. It's just kind of short. So we want the name of this field to be line item total. So I'm going to type line item total, and then I need a colon. So anything before the colon is what you're naming the field. After the colon is the calculation. When you're referencing fields from tables, you have to put the field references in square brackets. So I'm going to do an open square bracket and type price, close the square bracket. I'm going to type an asterisk for multiplication, open square bracket, quantity, and close the square bracket. So our line item total field is going to be the result of the price times the quantity. And now what I need to do in the lower right corner of my Zoom window, I need to click OK. And you'll see it all in that field line. If you want to zoom in and see it better, you can. But you can see it all right in that field line. Let's run this and see what happens. So there we have our line item total, our calculated field showing. And we'll talk about formatting it in just a bit. Let's go back to design view. And now we're going to create another calculated field in the customer orders query. So we're going to put it right next to line item total. I'm going to right click and I'm going to zoom. And this one is going to start out the same way as the other one, except we're going to call it discounted total. So discounted total, and remember your colon there. And in square brackets, price, we're going to do asterisk again, square brackets, quantity, and another asterisk after quantity, and we're going to do 0.9. So 10% discount is what this is going to calculate. And we're going to go ahead and click OK. And now let's run it. And you'll see the discounted total as well. And let's go back to design view. So now we're going to format both of our calculated fields. I'm going to just click in the line item total field. On the right side, I'm going to close the Add Tables pane. And on the ribbon, in the Query Design tab of the ribbon, in the Show Hide group to the right, I'm going to click on Property Sheet. So it's showing me the selection type is Field Properties. I'm in the line item total field. And I'm going to go to the Format property, and to the right, click its drop down, and I'm going to select Currency. Right underneath Currency, I'm going to go into the Decimal Places property and do the drop down and choose 2. And I'm going to do the same thing. I can scroll over here for the discounted total. So go ahead and format that as currency with 2 decimal places as well. And once you're done with your formatting, you can close the property sheet and you can run your query, and you'll see that both of those fields are formatted the way we told it to format. Go ahead and save your customer orders query. To end this module, you're going to learn how to create a query where we're going to be able to summarize the data and group the data. We can go ahead and close the customer orders query, and we're going to go to Create Query Design. For this one, we're going to use 4 different tables. So I'm going to make sure over here it's on Queries, my Add Tables. I'm going to make sure I go to the Tables tab, and I'm going to select the Products table, Orders, Order Details, and Categories. And then I'll expand them so I can see the fields. And so you're going to learn how to summarize data in a query, as well as how to group data in a query. Okay, so the fields we're going to use from the products table, we want to go ahead and double click product name. From the order details table, we're going to double click quantity, and we want the quantity field in there twice, so double click it again. We want from orders, order date, and from categories, category. All right. So now we want to be able to group and summarize. We want to see the sum of the quantity, and we want to be able to see the average of the quantity. That's why we added that field twice. In order to do that, you need to make it show the group by row in your table grid at the bottom. And in order to do that, on the Query Design tab of the ribbon in the Show Hide group, you're going to click on that Totals button. So now you'll get the total row. I called it the group by row. You get the total row in your grid at the bottom, and it's populated for every field. It defaults to group by. So we're going to leave product name on group by. For the first quantity field, you're going to go to group by and do its drop down and choose sum. The second quantity field, you're going to do the drop down and choose average. And we're going to leave order date and category group by. Once you have that total field, you have to leave it populated with something. So we're not doing any calculations on the order date or the category. We'll just leave them as they are. And go ahead and run your query. So now you'll see the grouping by product name. So all the black ballpoint pens are grouped together. the sum of the quantity, the average quantity. In this case, they're going to be the same numbers based on the data that's in our tables. And then the order date and the category. Let's go back to design view. And let's change that average quantity. Let's do the drop down there and choose min. We'll do the minimum quantity. See if that makes a difference in our numbers. No, it's still going to be the same. So just based on the data we have, but you get the idea. You can actually summarize data by grouping it and having some of those functions calculate on the data that way. Go ahead and save this query. And we'll call it QRY product order quantities. And once you save it, you can go ahead and close it. In Module 3, we observed how join types impact query results. You learned about the different types of joins. We also created more complex queries with multiple criteria. And in that lesson, you learned how to use the like keyword and across a range of letters. We also calculated data with queries. We created our own calculated fields within queries. And then we summarized our data with grouping and totals. Module 4, we're going to do more advanced things with queries, as well as some advanced report design techniques. So we're going to start with automating queries with parameters. So in the previous module, we did a query criteria where we said just show us California and Oregon, customers that are in California and Oregon. With a parameter query, the end user can make those choices before they run the query. So it gives prompts, and you'll see that in our first lesson here. Then we're going to go into using query wizards. So we used a simple query wizard, but there are 3 other query wizards that we're going to work through in this module. And then we're going to explore action queries. Before we get to that point, we will discuss what an action query is. And then again, we're going to get into some advanced report design techniques. Parameter queries allow the end users to determine by their choice what the query results will be. In this lesson, we're going to create automated requests for criteria. We're going to use wildcards in parameter queries, and we're also going to use range operators in parameter queries. So let's get started. Instead of starting from scratch, in your navigation pane, let's right-click on the customer's query, and we're going to copy it. And then right-click anywhere in the parameters pane and paste. And it's going to want to give it a name of copy of query customers. We're going to name it QRY customers. So you can get rid of copy of. And then after QRY customers, we're going to do by state. So customers by state. And we're going to click OK. So it will show up in the navigation pane in the proper grouping under queries. And we're going to open customers by state in design view. We want the end user to be able to choose which state the customers are in that they want to see in the query results. So we're going to click in the state criteria field, and in square brackets, you're going to type enter a state. So that's going to end up being the prompt that the end user sees. Enter the state. And make sure you close your square brackets. And I always tab out of those fields when I'm done in case there's any extra formatting that Access needs to apply. And now you can go ahead and run your query, and you get the enter parameter value dialog box pops up. You see your enter the state prompt, and I'm going to just type in OR and press OK. So when I do that, it runs the query and it's just showing me customers in the state of Oregon. You can actually save that query and close it. Now we're going to use wildcards in a parameter query. Let's go ahead and make another copy of our customers query. And we're going to name this one QRY customers by name. And click OK. And then we're going to open customers by name in design view. And I'm going to just drag my grid down a little bit. For this one, we want the end user to be able to type in a partial company name and have the query displayed a record for that company. So we're going to use the criteria field for company name. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on it. So right click and zoom in. And we're going to type like, and then in double quotes, an asterisk, which is any number of characters. And then an ampersand, we're going to concatenate this statement. In square brackets, we're going to type enter company name, and then in parentheses, partial OK. Close the parentheses and close the square brackets. We're going to do a space there, another ampersand, a space, and again in double quotes, another asterisk. So the asterisk is any number of characters. So if they enter part of a company name and there's more ahead of it, it will capture that. If it's more after whatever they enter, it will capture that as well. So in the bottom right corner of my Zoom screen, I'm going to do OK. And let's go ahead and run this. So we get our prompt, enter company name, partial OK. And we're going to just type in Bearcat and press enter. So it shows me the record for that company. Go back to design view and run it again. And we're going to type in Jazzy this time. And it's given me no results. Let's go back to design view. Not certain why Jazzy didn't work, but let's go ahead and run it again. And this time type in Firebird. And that's working. So you get the gist of it. Let's go back to design view and look at that again. Because the part that's in square brackets, so I'm going to go back into Zoom, that's the actual prompt. Right? We're telling it if they put in like the second word of a company name, grab everything before it and afterwards. So that gives the end user more flexibility instead of you building this stuff into the query as criteria. And go ahead and save your query. Now we're going to create a query that uses range operators for a parameter. And we're going to create a new query for this one, but we're going to do it the quick and easy way. If you have any open windows, you can go ahead and close them. And we're going to open up the orders table by double clicking it. And we're going to go to the File tab, Save As, Save Object As, Save As, and we're going to name it QRY Orders by Date. And we're going to save it as a query and click OK. We can go ahead and close that Orders Table tab. And we're looking at our query. So now we're going to take the query into Design View. And we're going to put this in the criteria cell for the order date. So I'm going to zoom onto that criteria cell just so you can see it better and I have more space to work in. And what we're going to type here is the word between, and then in square brackets, enter the start date, close square brackets. We're going to type and, open square brackets, enter the end date, close square brackets. So 2 different prompts for the end user. And it's only going to show the results that are between the start and the end date. And just so you know, in Access, between is inclusive. So if you were to put in between May 1st and May 31st, it would include May 1st and May 31st in the results. We're going to go ahead and click OK and then run your query. For the first prompt, let's put in 6/1/2010, enter. It gives you the second prompt for the end date, and we're going to do 6/30/2010, enter. And it shows all the orders based on their order dates in that range. Now, what happens if you put in a range that doesn't exist? Well, you'll get no results. Let's go back to Design View and run it again. And this time put in 1/1/2010, enter. And we'll put 2/28/2010, enter. And we get no results because there's nothing with that date range. And you can go ahead and save and close that query. I want to show you something else before I move on to our next topic in here. Let's run the customer's query. And let's say we look at a customer record and we realize that something is wrong. We see a mistake in the query, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to correct the mistake in here. And I'm just making this up as I go along. So we're going to say the Firebird fire sprinklers, their address 1 is not Foster Street. It is Forest Street. So I'm making that change right here in the query. And I just do my down arrow to get out of that row and save the record. Well, I changed it in the query. All of the data in your database is saved in tables. So if I go to the customers table and open it now, and I look at that record, which one was it? It was, here it is, Firebird. And you'll see the address has updated here. So if you see a mistake or something that needs to be changed in query results, you can fix it there and it automatically flows to the table, which holds the data. Just wanted to show that to you. Go ahead and close both of those tabs. If it asks you if you want to save any changes, just say yes. Now, in this lesson, we're going to use the 3 query wizards that we did not use during this course. So I have all of my database objects closed. I'm already on the Create tab of the ribbon, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Query Wizard. So if you look on the right, we used the simple Query Wizard before. We're going to start this by using the Crosstab Query Wizard, and when we select it, it gives you a little description. It creates a crosstab query that displays data in a compact spreadsheet-like format. And we're going to click OK. So this first screen of this wizard wants to know which table or query contains the field you want. So we're going to use a query for this. We want to use the query where we created a line item and a discounted total calculated field. So where it says View, you're going to do the option button for queries. And that query is the customer orders query, which is already selected in the list. We're going to choose Next. Which fields values do you want as row headings? So you can have only 3. We're only going to use 2 here. And the 2 we're going to use, I'm going to double click company name. And I'm going to double click order date in the list of available fields. So they go over to selected fields. And your little sample at the bottom updates. We're going to do Next. Which field values do you want as column headings? We're going to do product name for our column headings. And I accidentally double-clicked ship date here. So it wants to know which number do you want calculated for each column and row intersection. I want the line item total calculated. And it's defaulting to the count. If you look at the preview, you can see that, as well as the functions. We want it to be the sum. So I'm choosing sum of the line total. and I'm going to choose next. So sometimes with queries, you're not going to follow the example that I gave you of the naming conventions. So it's appending this one with an underscore crosstab. And typically you would want your crosstab queries to show that way. You'll get used to the icons after a while, but it's okay to leave it like this. So we're going to just do finish, and you have your crosstab query. So it does look more like a spreadsheet, right? It's giving me the line total for every company and order date combination. And then it's giving me the breakdown, right, of what the product name was and their line item totals. And you notice in your queries group in your navigation pane, a crosstab query has a different icon than the other queries that we've done. So again, once you're used to the icons, or if your end users get used to the icons, you can get rid of the underscore crosstab, but clarity is good in a database. And we're going to go ahead and close this query. Now we're going to go back on the Create tab to Query Wizard, and we're going to use the Find Unmatched Query Wizard next. So go ahead and click it, and it tells you it creates a query that finds records in one table that have no related records in another table. So earlier we looked at customers and orders table and order details in a query, and we adjusted the join types. So originally it was inner join, which it only showed customers that had orders. And then we changed it to a left outer join, and we were able to see the customers, all customers, regardless of whether they had orders or not. This one is going to just find the customers that don't have orders. So we're going to click OK. So which table or query contains records you want in the query results, right? So the query you create will list records in the table you select below that have no related records in the table you select on the next screen. So we're going to select the customers table here, and we're going to do next. On this table, we're going to select, on this screen, we're going to select the orders table. And it gives you examples here. And then we're going to do next. So what piece of information is in both tables, right? So we have, if you look down here, it already detected the matching field. If this is blank where it says matching fields, you simply have to click on the customer ID in the table customers instance and the customer ID in the table orders instance, and then click this less than, equal to, greater than symbol in between. And then it would drop those matching fields down here. If they're already there, you're good to go. And we're going to select next. So what fields do you want to see in the query results is this question. And what we want to see is company name, phone, and email. And we're going to do next. So it names this query exactly what it is. And this is another instance where you might not want to rename it. So it's naming it TBL customers without matching TBL orders. We're going to click on finish. So now it's just showing the customers who do not have any orders. Pretty cool. And we can go ahead and close that query. And last but not least, we're going to use the query wizard again. And this time we're going to use the Find Duplicates query wizard and click OK. So we want to look in the customers table for this. And what we're going to do is we want to find, if we have multiple customers in one city, the exact example that they're using on the screen. And we're going to do next. So which fields might contain duplicate information? We're going to choose the city field here, just city, and we'll do next. And what fields do you want to show in the query in addition to those with duplicate values? So we would like to see the company name and address one. And next. So it's going to name it Find Duplicates for TBL Customers. We're going to do Finish. And so we have 2 different customers in the same city. So imagine if in our results, we had Milton's Restaurant at 16 Office Drive in both rows. That means we have a duplicate record, and we could delete that record from within this query result. But that's not the case. It's 2 different companies, 2 different addresses. And you can go ahead and close your Find Duplicates query. Our third lesson in this module is action queries. So far, all of the queries we've done are known as select queries. They do not change table data. They just display table data. Now, you saw that you can edit the table data once it's displayed in the query, and it flows back up to the table where all the data is actually held in your database. But you're not changing any data with select queries. So there are 4 different types of queries that are known as action queries. Action queries actually change the data, can change the data. So there is a make table query, which actually makes a table. There's an append query, which can append data into a table. There's an update query that can update data in a table. And there's a delete query, which can delete data from a table. Now, it is said that you cannot reverse the actions of an action query. And that's somewhat true. You can manually. So if I use the make table query and I make a table and I don't need it, I can delete that table. If I use an append query and add more records to a table, I can delete those records from a table manually. If I do an update query, I can run another update query to undo the update that I did. The one that's the hardest to come back from is a delete query. Unless you have a recent backup of your database, you may not be able to recover from a delete query. So we're going to start by going to the Create tab, and we're going to go into Query Design. And we're going to, in our Add Tables box, let's select Customers Table. And I'm going to expand it so I can see all the fields. Let's say that we want all the fields of the table in our grid. So the easy way to do that is if you double click that asterisk at the top, right? That's one way of doing it. It's showing all the fields there. I'm going to just delete that really quickly. Another way that I usually do is I double click the title bar of the table tile, and I can actually see it select all the fields. And then I just click and hold on any one of them and drag it to the first field cell. So I can literally see all the fields in the grid instead of just the asterisk referencing all the fields. And so we want all the fields from the customers table in this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a criteria for our state field by just typing OR for Oregon in the state field and tabbing out of that criteria cell. And we're going to run the query and just making sure it's just showing customers from Oregon, and we can go back to design view. So now that we have our criteria set up, I want to direct your attention to the Query Design tab of the ribbon, and I'm looking at the query type group. You notice that Select is shaded. So every query we've been doing is known as a select query. It does not change any of the table data. We use that query type group to select the type of action query that we want to create. And notice all of the action queries, the one that change your data, they have like a red exclamation point right in front of the icon. So you'll see that in front of Make Table, Append, Update, and Delete. And this is another way that you can make a Crosstab query, which is not an action query, but that does not have the red exclamation point. I usually do the Crosstab queries through the wizard. That's the easiest way for me to do them. So we're going to decide with the results of this, the customers from Oregon, we want to make a table out of these query results. So we're going to click on the Make Table query type. And it says Make New Table, and we're going to name it. We're going to name it TBL Customers and then Oregon. And we're making this table in the current database. Your only choice is this database or another database, another Access database that you would have to browse to. And we're going to click OK. And nothing happened. We don't see a new table because we now have to run the query. And when you run the query, it lets you know that you're about to paste 3 rows into a new table. Once you click yes, you can't use the undo command to reverse the changes. Are you sure you want to create a new table with the selected records? We're going to click yes. And now we have our Oregon customers table. You can double click it to open it. Just has those 3 customers in it. We can close the table. So we're going to use the same query. We never even saved this query or named it, but we're going to use it to create a customers California table. So I'm going to just go down and change the criteria for the state from OR to CA, tab out of there. Go back to Query Design tab on the ribbon. I'm going to click Make Table again. And this time I'm going to change the name of it to Customers California. Click OK and run it. So we're going to paste there's 3 California customers. We're going to paste them into a new table. Go ahead and say yes. And by doing that, we don't have to save this query unless there were other criteria we wanted to use. We can go ahead and close this query, and you don't have to save the changes to the design. So in our last exercise, we used the Make Table query twice to make the California customers table and the Oregon customers table. And then after that, we decide that we really want one table for both California and Oregon together. So let's go back to our Create tab, Query Design. And this time we're going to, on the Add Tables box, we're going to select the Customers Oregon table. And we're going to show all the fields. I'm going to double click the table tiles title bar to select all the fields. Then click and hold Customer ID and drag it to the first field cell. So this is all the customers that are in Oregon from the Make Table that query that we already did. And now what we want to do on the Query Type section of the ribbon, we want to choose Append. So Append to, for the table name, we're going to do the drop down and we're going to select TBL Customers California. It's in the current database. We're going to click OK. And now we're going to run it. So you're about to append 3 rows. We're going to click yes. And now if you open your Customers California table, you'll see the Oregon customers are in there as well. And so I'm going to close that table and I'm going to rename it by right-clicking on it and choosing Rename. And at the end of it, I'm going to just type and Oregon. And click away from it. So that is an append query. The query results are appended into an existing table in this database or in another Access database. We have a zip code in our customers table that we need to update. It's a wrong zip code. So we only actually have 1 customer record with this zip code, but imagine you had hundreds of customer records with this same zip code. You wouldn't want to manually have to update all of them to make them correct. So we're going to do an update query now. So let's open our customers query. And we're going to open it in Design View. And in the customers query, In the zip field for criteria, we're going to put in a zip code 97045. 97045. And then tab out of that field and run the query. So like I said, we have one customer with that particular zip code, but imagine you had hundreds or thousands of them. And we're going to go back to design view. And now in the query type group on the ribbon, we're going to click on update. And what that does, it gives you an update to row right under the table name. So in that update to row for the zip code, we are going to type 97046. 97046. And tab out of there. And now we're going to run it. It lets you know that you're about to update one row. We're going to say yes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to close this query. And we do not want to save the changes to it. So now if we run query customers, we'll see that we don't have a zip code of 97045 anymore. It's 97046. And that's a data change, so it's also in the table and anywhere else where that zip code is referenced. And you can go ahead and close that query. So now we're going to use the delete query. And before I do that, I'm going to open a customers table. And I want you to pick any customer you have. I have a couple that I added. I have a zip code, one instance of a zip code in here. And based on that zip code, I want to delete any records with that zip code. So find a zip code that one of the ones that you entered into this yourself. And we're going to close the table and just make note of that zip code. And now we're going to go to create query design. And we're going to bring in the customers table. I'm going to double click its title bar and just drag all the fields down to the first field cell. And now on the ribbon, I'm going to click delete for the query type. And notice it puts a delete row underneath the table row in the grid, and it's populated with the word where. For the zip column, underneath where, you're going to click in the criteria cell, and you're going to type in the zip code from your customers table that you want to delete any records with that zip code. And then you're going to run the query. It lets you know that you're going to delete however many rows from the specified table. In my case, I picked one that only had one of the ones that I entered in. And I'm going to say, yes, I want to delete those records. And then I'm going to close this query and not save its changes. And so when I go back in my customers table, that record with 08821 zip code is gone. And I can close the customers table. Our final lesson in this module is advanced report design techniques. So we're going to get started by grouping report data. We're going to create a new report. We'll use the wizard for this. So we're going to go to the Create tab, and in the Reports group, we're going to go to the Report Wizard. And the table or query that I want to use for this report, we want to use the Customer Orders query. And the fields that we want on the report are going to be the company name, order date, and discounted total. So I'm going to just double click those. Company name, order date, discounted total. And I'm going to choose next. So on this screen, we can add any grouping levels. We want to group by company name. So I can just double click company name. And so it'll show every company name and then underneath it, the order date and the discounted total. And by the way, I'll just point this out. You've probably seen those intra-company phone directories, And they'll usually have like the letter A at the top, and then it'll have every employee whose last name begins with the letter A or something like that and their information. Well, they do that through grouping options. We don't need to use grouping options here. It defaults to normal, but you can do the first letter or 2 initial letters. That's how those types of directories get made. Just wanted to point that out. And I'm going to just cancel out of grouping options. So we're grouping by company name, and we're going to choose next. And here we don't have to do a sort. If you do the drop down, since we're grouping by company name, that's not listed as a field that we can sort by. And what we want to do is do next at the bottom. We're going to use the stepped layout. You can look at the block and the outline previews if you like. We're going to leave it on portrait, adjust the field width so all fields fit on a page. We're going to leave that and do next. And we're going to name this report. So we're going to name it, let's see, I'm trying to select this stuff. It's going to be RPT, orders by customer. And we're going to click on finish. So we look at this report and we see our grouping by company name. So Astro Advertising, then all of its order dates and its discounted totals. And then it goes on to the next company, so on and so forth. When you get to the bottom of the page, you'll see in the page footer section, it's page 1 of 3. So I can look at the second page and so on and so forth. Now, there are things that we could fix about this report. One of the things on the report itself, I want the header to not say RPT orders by customer. So I'm going to change the view here. I'm going to right click on the tab and I'm going to go to layout view to do that. And then I can select that text box, double click in it, and I'm going to get rid of RPT and I'm going to just put a space between orders by customer. So we have 3 separate words. And then I'm going to look at it again in report view to see my change. We can go ahead and close that report and save the changes. So that's a way that you can group your report data. Pretty easy to do when you're using the wizard. We're going to create another report now so we can summarize report data. We're going to base it off of the same query that we did before, and that's going to be our customer orders query. So we're going to go back to create. We're going to do report wizard. We're going to select our customer orders query. This time we want the company name, order date, and discounted total fields. And we're going to do next. We're going to group by company name again by double clicking it. And we're going to do next. Now on the sort screen at the bottom, you have the summary options button. And we're going to click that button. The only fields that would show here are calculated fields. So discounted total is a calculated field that we selected for the report. And we want the sum of the discounted total. So we can only do sum, average, min, and max there. We're going to leave it on show detail and summary. Your other choice is summary only. And you could have it calculate a percentage of total for sums, but we're not going to do that. We're going to click OK to close summary options. We're going to do next, next. And we're going to name this one RPT orders summary. Whatever you put here is both what it names the report and the title that's on the report. So you have to change one or the other. And I'm going to do finish. So on this one, we're going to take care of the title again. But on this one, it's showing for each company name, the order dates, the discounted totals for those order dates. And then underneath that, it has a summary for company name equals Astro Advertising, 16 detail records, and then it has the sum of that discounted total. Well, we're going to fix this line. We just want it to say summary for Astro Advertising, 16 detail records. We don't need that company name there. So we're going to fix that. We're also going to start by fixing the report title. So let's go to Layout View to fix the report title. We're going to just get rid of the RPT and put a space between the two words. And click away from it. And then we're going to go to Design View to fix that company name footer. Now, when we're in Design View, look at all the different sections that we have for this report. We have the report header. We have the page header. So the report header shows on the first page of every report. The page header shows on every page of the report. And in the page header, it has the labels for company name, order date, and discounted total. And then it has the company name header because we grouped it on company name. So that creates its own header. Then we have our detail section where it shows the order date and the discounted total for every company name. We have the company name footer, which shows at the bottom of each company because of the grouping. Page footer shows on every page, and then the report footer shows on the last page of the report. So we're going to be impacting that company name footer. And what we want to do is we want to select the single quote. So it has equal, and then in double quote, summary for space, double quote, ampersand for concatenation. And after the ampersand is another double quote. Then there's a single quote before company name. We want to get rid of the single quote as well as the text company name and the single quote that comes after it. So just single quote, company name, single quote. And we're going to do delete. And we're going to leave everything else there. So it's going to say summary for, and then equals, and then there's going to be a space after summary for. There's going to be a space after the equals. It's concatenating in a space. And then it's going to have the actual company name for that particular set of records. And then the count of how many detail records. So let's take this back to report view and make sure that looks okay now. So summary for equals Astro Advertising is what it's going to say now instead of equals company name and then Astro Advertising. And that looks a lot better. So we did a grouping and a summarization in this report. And you can go ahead and save your report, or actually go back to Design View. I just wanted to go over a couple of other things in Report Design View. I'm going to go to the Report Design tab on the ribbon. And over on the right in the Tools group, I'm going to go ahead and choose Property Sheet. So we saw a property sheet when we were working on a query before because we used it to format some of the fields in the query results as currency. But you have similar properties in here when you're in report design. So for example, if I click on the detail gray bar on the grid, right, I can go here to selection properties and choose detail. So now it's showing me the properties for that detail section. So if I wanted to format it any kind of way, there's a whole, I can do formats, decimal places, stuff, that kind of nature using the property sheet. Now there's other ways to format in a report too. I'm going to go ahead and close the property sheet. And we're going to format the labels in the page header section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the first label, the company name label in the page header section, hold down my control key, click on the order date label, and then click on the discounted total label. And we're going to go to the Format tab on the ribbon. And in here, what I want to do is I want to give these a different font color. So I'm going to do the font color drop down, and I'm going to do like a blue font color. So it's actually changing the background of actually I did a fill color, that's why. So I did a blue fill color, and that's fine. Now we'll do the font color drop down and make it white. And then we'll make it bold. And now take your report to report view to see what that looks like. It may not be the best color choices, but I just wanted to show you that you're not stuck with what you've got. And as a matter of fact, I would suggest that when you create a report, you just open up the property sheet, you select different fields, you test out things, go look at it in report view and see what you've got. And now I'm going to take it to print preview. So this is what it would look like if I printed this report out. And again, from the preview tab of the ribbon, I can change the paper size, the margins. I can change the page layout. I can actually export report data. So I can export it to Word, as a text file, as a PDF, so on and so forth. Go ahead and close print preview and close your report. Say yes if it prompts you to save. In Module 4, we created parameter queries, which gives the end user the ability to define the criteria that's going to show in the query results. We used the query wizard to create a Crosstab query, which kind of looks like a spreadsheet. We also used the Find Duplicates query wizard and the Find Unmatched query wizard. Then we moved on to creating action queries, which actually impact the table data. And we finished up with using advanced report design techniques by learning how to summarize and group in reports. We also went over design view and how you can access the properties window when you're working in that view for reports. Thank you so much for attending this video course.